Brutii are the only true Romans. We saved Rome. We drove out the kings. We made the Republic. The family deserve respect for that. Respect and obedience. We know what is best for Rome. New lands, living space, territory, slaves. I know what must be done. The Greeks, they look down their perfumed noses at all Romans, and they hate us. I'm going to give them a reason for hate. When I've crushed them. Roman steel, that's the answer. Roman steel in the Brutii fist. And the other great Roman families. The Scipii, trash. They have no respect for proper Roman ways. For us, the Julii prostitute themselves as if the people mattered. Bah. We Brutii must lead Rome.
Hey everyone, my name is Simpsy. How you all doing? Welcome to my Rome Total War Remastered cinematic campaign. Today we're playing as the House of Brutii with the main objective of this three-part series to form the Eastern Roman Empire and then eventually march on Rome. So, we're currently under the reign of our faction leader, Tiberius Brutus, who is 57. Let's have a quick look at the family tree. So he has 3 sons, and hopefully we can have a long line of Brutus dynasty springing throughout him. Ullius, Aemilianus, and Vibius. 3 sons with a lot of ambition and influence. So, already, I think we're better off declaring a different heir. I usually sort by command, then influence, because I do like my faction leaders and heirs leading from the front. So, I'm actually going to switch up the heir here. He will be disinherited, which he's not happy with, but he'll just have to deal with it, I suppose. Alright, let's make plans and preparations to expand and conquer for the Brutii. So we currently have Crotona and Brundisium. I think our best bet is to throw all our resources into Greece, trying to capture as much of that territory as we can. The Brutii are one of the strongest factions in Rome Total War, if not the strongest, due to their territorial access to wonders. There is a resource and wonder disparate difference in Rome Remastered and Rome Total War. There are more wonders to the east of the map rather than the west, so you do get a lot of bonuses with that. Alright, let's go and have our first battle.
Those men yonder are not to be feared. Their blood can be spilled easily. There is no shame in fear. There is only shame in letting fear rule you. Try not to look scared, and you'll find bravery in your heart.
Okay, let's get stuck into this rebel scum. So, we're throwing over the Brutii military into Apollonia. Sometimes the settlement is referred to as Dyrrachium. We can use this as a springboard to potentially go into Illyria and Greece. So going after rebel territory and securing it is vital. And more than likely war with the Greeks and the Macedonians will sound out. We're going for a 3-pronged attack here in this rebel settlement. Try and surround them from all sides, and we'll bring it under Roman control and influence, hopefully. Now, while our attention is primarily focused on the conquest of Greece, we might need to have a look at the situation in Syracuse as well. There might be an opportunity to get territory. We're about to get a nice cavalry charge here. Holding down the pikemen, we've managed to kill the enemy general/captain, and hopefully these pike capitulate with a rear charge. Now we might look to snipe northern Italian territory, maybe even to North Africa as well, because we are heavily sort of eastern biased in our expansion, while the Scipii sort of go into Spain and North Africa, and the Julii to essentially Gaul and France. So if we've got the resources, it sometimes might be advantageous to look to cut off their expansion by taking like Carthage or something like that. Alright, let's build a governor's house to help with the regional administration in Apollonia. And now we have 3 pieces of territory. We also want to go with communal farming early on to get the population growth bonus and increase taxable income. Once we've got farms down, we'll start building Roman roads and painting the map. I'm going to use some town watch, which will be quite useful. And we've successfully completed the Senate mission. I want to be loyal to the Senate as much as we can, so we'll be trying to fulfill their missions. The Senate, the SPQR, and the House of Scipii have declared war upon the Greek city-states. That's a good opportunity for us, as I imagine that they're probably fighting the Greek city-states in Sicily, the Scipii. They want me to block the port of Syracuse, which is interesting. Well, seeing as I'm already asked to go down there, it might be advantageous for us to send Ullius Brutus down there if the Scipii fail in taking the city. So we are slowly but surely amassing more forces in Apollonia, and we'll march north to take the rebel territory in Illyria. It's probably not a bad idea getting trade rights with the Macedonians. Okay, the senators still request us to block the port of Syracuse to stop the tyrant. We'll attack the Greek city-states. We will have to be careful in Apollonia now. But war between the House of Brutus and the Greek city-states begins. We're going to push into Dalmatia to try and secure Salonia. We've been rewarded as well by the Senate, and hopefully we can get a Brutii to eventually go up the political ladder into a consul or an aedile potentially. Alright, let's play this one against these Illyrian pirates.
Today we make our own fates. The omens may say that we face disaster, but I choose to think differently. Can any true man do otherwise? Those monstrous and loathsome things are the enemy. We can expect no quarter should they win. We are here to rescue the good folk of this settlement. I have never lost a battle against these people. Why should I start losing now, with men such as you at my command? Another victory is at hand. Now, set your minds on the task to come. Strike hard. Strike without mercy.
Okay then, let's strike hard, men, and be merciless. Now, we've been quite fortunate here today. Our spies have managed to infiltrate the settlement and open the gates. Trying to grab as much rebel territory as we can is vital for Roman expansion. We'll have to watch out for those arrow towers there. Some of our villetes will be able to throw their peeler up and over the walls and strike hard into the rebels. But you want to try and grab as much rebel territory as you can, so you don't get drawn into regional conflicts with larger factions. They also tend to be very ill-equipped and don't have a strong command structure, as you would imagine rebels would. And you also want to try and grab it, just in case any other Roman or potential enemy factions do. Then we'll look to focus on the Greek city-states and the Macedonians. We might even try and play one off each other. Our brave infantry have made their way into the town square, and they are surrounding the last Illyrian pirates here. Our brave Brutii are doing a fantastic job for the Republic. I do want to try and be as loyal as I can. I'm going to try and do every single Senate mission, because the Brutii are loyal to the Republic through and through. The last remnants of the Illyrian pirates should capitulate soon. There goes the enemy general and captain, and thus we win the battle. Securing Illyria is incredibly important, as pirates have made their home on the coast. They were raiding eastern Italy quite significantly. That's now stopped. Cassius Brutus has now come of age, which is fantastic. Now, unfortunately, the Scipii attempted conquest of Dionysus in Syracuse has failed. So now we've been tasked to try and take the settlement for ourselves. Cassius has now come of age. The rest of the Roman families are now at war with the Gauls. And the Julii are actually at war with the Greek city-states, which is surprising. Alright, we're going to make plans and preparations to send an army to Sicily, and also kick off the war against the Greek city-states. They've moved a couple of armies near me, and it's time to have our first initial conflict against them, as they're getting too close to Apollonia. Amulius Brutus, 33, factionaire, is going to bring in some mercenary hoplites and peltasts and look to march south.
Fleet ready.
While Aulus
Ready to sail. Ready to sail.
is going to try
Set sail.
and take Syracuse,
Set sail.
which would be easier said than done.
Engage the enemy. Engage the enemy.
Traditionally, Sicily and Syracuse will be a Scipii hotspot, but if we've got the available resources and military might, it's not a bad idea to try and take the city for ourselves. At the heart of the Mediterranean Sea, it will be a vital trade point from North Africa to Greece to eventually Anatolia and Egypt. Having more influence there would be the best. Like, even if taking Carthage is available, it would be worth doing. So we've got some small initial skirmishes here against the Greek city-states as we look to push south to Thermon. The Senate has been gracious enough to give Aulus the title of Quaestor, our first political position for the Brutii. It's well deserved. We also have a potential suitable husband here, which I'm open to doing. I will be not adopting anyone in this series. I want the line of Brutii to continue, but I am open to the female Brutii line marrying off. So even if there are generals and characters with different names that do not have the last name of Brutus, I'm more than happy to let them have
General, orders.
Brutii blood.
Forward the army. Not possible, sir. Not possible, sir. Imperator.
So Thermon has a full stack and an army outside.
Settlement, sir. Sir.
So we need to attempt to divide and conquer this situation. The siege is still ongoing.
Imperator.
We can strike the army on the outskirts, which we'll do.
The seer can offer no guidance for this day. So we must grasp our own fates and make what we will of them with an iron purpose. There stand the Greeks, ready to fight or die. Today, I think we should send as many of them as possible to Hades. They have been whipped to the battlefield like cattle for slaughter. I have never yet lost a fight against these men. I have no intention of starting today. So together, we will gain another victory. I have won many great victories for Rome. Be strong in that truth, and let this be one more. March on, and know that our victory is assured as long as we live and die like true Romans.
Aemilius Brutus here has a massive opportunity to send a bunch of Greeks to Hades. Once Thermon is taken, it'll be a crucial coastal settlement for the Republic and will act as a cornerstone into Greater Greece. The cavalry is disciplined to hold their charge, not to get sucked in. The young, brave, disciplined Hastati boys are going to charge on in. We've managed to divide and conquer the Greek city-states here in Thermon. We're holding them down. Now we're getting some hammer and anvil strikes from the side. So far, the Greek defenders seem to be in a full retreat. However, we must watch out for their Greek companion cavalry. We must fear and be cautious against Greek cavalry. They still have the reputation of Alexander's companions. The enemy general has fallen, and Aemilius will be able to claim a great victory today. Now with the army on the outside crushed, we'll be able to move into the city. Meanwhile, Aulus is down in Syracuse, surrounding Dionysus of Sparta, the tyrant of Syracuse, and we might be able to take the city.
Only a fool cares for omens and portents, no matter how bad they may be. We make our own destinies, and we are not ruled by the flight of some damn bird. Do not fear these over-nice Greeks. They have come to fight, it is true, but they will only stay to die. They think their walls are enough to stop us. They should think again. These people have yet to taste victory at my expense. Today will be no different, so lay into them with a will. Now, take up the sword, string your bow, look to your arms and armor. Now comes the hour when we test Roman courage!
Massive opportunity for the House of Brutii here today. Our first major siege with battering rams and ladders. Aulus has been tasked to take it. Massive opportunity for him personally to gain influence in the house after having his heir title stripped for his younger and more adept brother, Aemilianus. The Greeks, however, will be incredibly confident as they've already thrown back one Roman invasion from a Scipii incursion. But our men are battle-hardened and experienced in fighting Greeks. Unfortunately, one of the battering rams has now been engulfed in flames. One of the brave defenders doing a superb job. However, they can't stop the ladders attaching their way onto the Syracuse walls. A second battering ram is engulfed in flames. That vector of attack has been nullified. The Brutii must now focus on capturing the walls. Fighting on the walls, units do get a bonus in defending. However, we are making them pay for it.
Great gods! Our soldiers have done well this
The gateway
day.
is now
The
being
walls
captured.
are taken.
We're going to be able to funnel in more additional troops. Once Syracuse has fallen, all of Sicily will be under Roman Republic control. The Scipii have already thrown out the Carthaginians from the north and west of the island. But Syracuse, the regional capital, is the prize. The Brutii won victory on the walls. Now they make their way into the city streets to finish off the Greeks. Decapitating the faction leader would be massive. Still slowly but surely progressing.
Enemy king has been
And
slaughtered.
Dionysus,
Let
the
us
enemy
focus
king,
on
has
the
been
voice of the
defeated.
carrion birds.
This should hopefully cause a fracture and a schism in the Greek alliance. Syracuse will fall eventually to Roman occupation.
Rome will be amazed at such a victory. The day is ours.
Having Syracuse under direct Brutii control is a massive boon for our house. Stealing it from the Scipii, sphere of influence. This is what we currently control. Our regional territory is slightly fractured, which makes it a little bit exposed. The Julii are expanding north, while the Scipii expansion isn't off to a great start, which I suppose is good for us. Now that we have Syracuse, we could sail into North Africa if we choose, but it might be more advantageous for us to focus on the Greek peninsula, but still maintain a military presence in Sicily. Although we won the battle on the outskirts of Thermon, the Greeks have thrown more infantry in there for a last stand.
Men! The battle is inevitable, but victory hangs in the balance. Do your duty as true Romans, and victory will be within our grasp. Do not fear these over-nice Greeks. They have come to fight, it is true, but they will only stay to die. That army comprises a full quarter of our foe's warriors. Is that the best that they can do? These old women, beardless youths, and craven dogs? I think we will grow weary of killing today. Our task today is a noble one, to preserve the town and its people. We are even matched in numbers, man for man, but that does not tell the whole story. Yet, that said, they are the stronger, better men. If we go at them bullheaded, we aid their strength. Cunning will be what wins the day. These people have yet to taste victory at my expense. Today will be no different, so lay into them with a will. This morning, an eagle circled the camp 3 times, then flew towards the rising sun. Such a portent can only mean a good day for us today. Be of good heart, for within the day, reinforcements will reach us. I have won many great victories for Rome. Be strong in that truth, and let this be one more. March on, and know that our victory is assured as long as we live and die like true Romans.
Let's advance. We should not fear these Greeks. They have come here to die. Now, before we march into Thermon itself, it will be advantageous for us to leave the defenders and inhabitants inside and focus on the reinforcing units coming in. Fighting them on the field of battle, on the outskirts of Thermon, is imperative, as fighting units in street urban combat will be difficult for us. Aemilius has decided to delay the siege to deal with the skirmish on the outskirts, sending his brave Roman equite cavalry first to deal with the skirmishers. A nice strong charge to soften up the Greek skirmishers, causing a retreat. The infantry has been told to hold, while cavalry gets into a flanking position. The Hastati are free to let fly their 3 peeler. And inflict mass casualties and venomous volleys into the Greek infantry. The Greek city-states are throwing everything they've got into defending Thermon, turning into a meat grinder. We've managed to interlock their infantry. They've left their skirmishers exposed. With our cavalry supremacy on the field of battle, overall there's not much they can do. Our skirmishers have softened them up, but we are losing casualties slowly but surely. If the Greek pike and phalanx is able to chip away against our infantry. Holding them in place is a cost, which flanking cavalry will exchange, causing a mass rout of the reinforcing units. The second battle on the fields of Thermon has ended. Now with the reinforcing army crushed, Aemilianus can focus on the siege itself. The battering rams have been equipped with infantry and will start breaking down the walls. Thankfully it's not a large or huge stone-walled city. No ladders will be needed for this. Just a good, solid Brutii battering ram. I'm sure the Senate will be pleased of our Greek conquest and give us more
Our soldiers are at the walls.
opportunities
Now they must batter a way through.
and missions for the Senate itself.
Our
The
soldiers
battering
are at
rams
the
are
gates.
slowly but surely
Now they must
making
batter
their
a
way
through.
to the wall. And the Romans will be able to swarm in. Once Thermon has fallen to the Romans, there's a decent choke point. We can go north into potentially Macedonian territory, even securing the breadbasket of Larissa, or taking the democratic and philosophical hub of Athens, or the military might of Sparta. Will largely depend on the Greek city-states. The walls have fallen, and the battle-hardened and experienced Hastati charge on in and make their way into the Greek city streets. Fierce fighting is now breaking out, with a stalemate forming in this urban combat grind. More units are committing. We are slowly but surely gaining inches of territory. I can't imagine how difficult this siege would be for Emilius if there were a full stack inside. We've made our way to the town square, where the last of the Greek units remain. Both sides taking large casualties. The Battle of Thermon is won, but at significant cost for both sides. Thermon is now under Roman control. We've managed to be gifted a unit of Triarii, with the Senate incredibly pleased with the House of Brutii's progress and Roman control. The Greeks have offered a ceasefire, and they will give us a decent amount of denarii. I would only accept Greece capitulation for settlements, which they're not interested in.
Regretfully, we must declare.
The Macedonians now, we're coming into their region. They control Larissa and Corinth. Let's run down the last of the Greek city-states here in Thermon. And we can move back to the settlement. Looking at the current standings, the Senate like us barely over the other Roman houses, and the people equal to any other. Titus Brutus has now come of age. He will eventually command legions in his own right. The Senate has requested that we block the port of Sparta and continue our pressure and war against the Greek city-states. The House of Brutii will oblige.
Ready to sail. Disembark.
Aulus,
General.
after the successful siege of Syracuse, has marched north to take more Balkan territory. Unfortunately, the Macedonians are now here. We could use this as an opportunity to attack them,
Ready to sail.
but now we've been tasked to block the port of Carthage. Continue with our maritime dominance. We can wait and see if they take the settlement. Back down in the south, still holding at Thermon. We're currently investing significantly into the local Greek economies. But now it's getting to the point where the last remaining Greek territories are further away, and we're bordering the Macedonian sphere of influence. We've decided to attack them. They have taken the northern settlement of Segestia from the rebels. We'll use that to our advantage.
Let us end the
The
bloodshed.
Macedonians instantly want to sue for peace, which we will not do, after bringing the Roman world to attack them. I would only consider peace for territorial gains, but
Regretfully,
once again, they're
we
not
must
interested.
declare.
We've managed to secure another seat of Quaestor. Alright, let's have our first siege against the Macedonians, who weakened Segestia, taking it from the rebels. And now they are in a weakened position, instead of fighting them on the outside. War has now come to the Macedonians.
Romans, countrymen, today is a day for brave deeds. Today is a proud day to be Roman! Those overconfident men are the army of Macedon. They think themselves as good as us, but I think they are awaiting the funeral pyre. They stand alone. No friend has come to this place to die for them. Does this not say something about their honor? They're standing among nations? This army is fully 1/4 of all our warriors. Imagine how we look to our enemies, and take heart from that thought. Our people expect great things of us, and we are the men to do great things. They cower behind their walls and pray for help. On this field, we have the benefit of greater numbers. It is one we would do well not to squander. They have brought many horsemen to this fight. We will have to be inventive in countering this threat, as we lack spearmen. I have never lost a battle against these people. Why should I start losing now, with men such as you at my command? Another victory is at hand. There have been many portents, both good and bad. With such confusion in the heavens, it is up to us to forge our own destiny. Now then, look to your front. Mark your target when it comes!
So, if we're successful here today, we're going to be able to cut off the Macedonians' northern ambition. They tried to set up a forward operating settlement in Segestia. They recently attacked the settlement earlier in the week. They are weakened, they are tired, and now they're going to have to rapidly defend shortly after an offensive siege. Some of the damage to the prior attack of Segestia is evident and seen throughout the city walls. Once Segestia is secure, we're going to be bordering for the first time with the House of Julii and potentially whatever barbarians to the north. I have no ambition to cross over the Alps. Too far away. North, I think Segestia is probably as far north as we're going to go.
Now they must batter a way through.
We might have to go northwest towards Dacia or potentially Thracian territory, but the Germanic tribes aren't the arch enemy of Brutus and the Brutii. I think we'll leave the Gallic,
The gods have smiled on us today.
Germanic,
The walls are broken.
and Britain
Our troops
barbarians
have
to
known
the
no mercy.
Julii.
The enemy walls are down. Make sure their
We've managed to
soldiers are
break our
buried
way
beneath
into the
ruins.
city, and now fighting is breaking out. We've got a couple of vectors of attack. The infantry can swarm in. The Macedonians are fighting fearlessly, hardly giving up any ground. We are slowly but surely making our way through, but it's an absolute slog. Got to give it to the Macedonians. They are fighting to the absolute bitter end. They seem to be holding and delaying this conquest a lot longer compared to the Greek city-states. Maybe it's got to do with the Macedonians are a united kingdom, while the Greek city-states is an alliance of fractured cities and interests. Segestia will now fall, and we've secured Illyria. We shall enslave and disperse the populace throughout the Roman world. Back down in Greece, we're going to try and continue our advance. Larissa, Athens, under Macedonian control. We've got some available mercenaries, Cretan archers, and some peltasts will be vital. The Senate has requested the blockade of Carthage, which we shall do. We've successfully completed the Senate's mission of continuing up Roman maritime dominance, of sieging Sparta and Carthage, and Cornelius Brutus has now come of age. Right, let's try and seize the breadbasket of Greece. We're going to be able to get food and logistics from this crucial settlement, which would be massive for us. If there's any settlement we need to defend with imperative, it's Larissa. The siege continues in Greece, and Vibius Brutus, along with Titus Brutus, have a full legion ready to accompany Legion 1 in Greece. We currently have 3 legions in operation. Ullius, after taking Segestia, has an opportunity to go north and cut off the Macedonians and their capital. Larissa will now fall to an easy siege. We've secured the center. Well, unfortunately, Tiberius Brutus has now died of old age. The faction leader is now dead. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see too much of him. He was in his early 50s at the start of the campaign and was coordinating the Brutii war effort back in Tarentum. Emilius, his second-born son, has assumed control of the faction and head of the family. And Emilius now has to decide his future heir. Now, we're not going with male preference primogenitor. We're going by command and influence, and obviously a Brutii last name. So Vibius will be now getting the heir title. Unfortunately, Ullius has been overlooked twice, so I'm sure he is a little bit scorned and wanting to earn renown. Now, with Emilius, now the faction leader, 7-star commander, he is given full control and operation into the conquest of Greece. His orders are absolute. Unfortunately, the Macedonian navy has intercepted us, with a navy with 200 sailors on board. Unfortunately, a crushing defeat. Many Roman lives were lost. Dacia wants to trade.
Thanks.
We'll accept that. Emilius now continues to besiege Athens to bring it under Roman Republic control. We've managed to open the gates. And with a clear-cut order resolve, with no general inside, the Athenian people have been liberated by the Romans. Ullius, 2-star command, looking to earn his worth and respect in the family. Emilius is going to take Corinth, while his elder brother looks to besiege Bylazora. The Greek city-states still have some territory down in Athens. Vibius, now the faction heir, is going to the Macedonian capital. And Ullius now has a chance to take Bylazora for the Senate.
Take up the shield! Grasp the spear! Sharpen the sword's edge! This is a day of destiny! And fate of many will be decided in this place! Those overconfident men are the army of Macedon. They think themselves as good as us, but I think they are awaiting the funeral pyre. And draw strength from this fact. The enemy are so loathed that no ally can be found to support them. They think their walls are enough to stop us. They should think again. Our numbers here are about equal. Therefore, a victory here will be hard fought, but glorious. All that said, we are the stronger. Every one of you is better than they. Remember this and take heart from the memory. The enemy will try to conserve their strength by firing at us. We must close and fight them hand to hand. like true men. Today we make our own fates. The omens may say that we face disaster, but I choose to think differently. Can any true man do otherwise? I have won many great victories for Rome. Be strong in that truth, and let this be one more. March on, and know that our victory is assured as long as we live and die like true Romans.
Ullius is a complex figure in the Brutii family. He's taken Syracuse. He's secured Segestia. If he can secure Bylazora here today, he might be able to eventually rise to either faction heir or leader. However, although he's a decent commander,
Our soldiers are at the walls.
he is diminished by his other traits of drunkenness and disorderly conduct. That's why he had his heir title stripped twice. Bylazora should be able to fall, and we'll be able to have a pincer movement here in northern Macedonia. Bylazora has fallen to Ullius, securing a solid victory for the house of Brutus once more. And the Senate is pleased. Back down in Syracuse, it's been quite some time that the city has been under Roman influence. A significant army has been recruited, which can look to North Africa. Back in Greece, the siege of Corinth still rages, with the previous victories at Thermon and Larissa. The Macedonians are incredibly on the back foot. They simply overextended while they got attacked. Their full stack was crushed in Segestia. Corinth will now fall to Roman control, and thus the statue of Zeus at Olympia, giving bonus in loyalty. This is what the Brutii currently control. The Greek city-states are still defiant in Sparta, but the Macedonians mustn't have too many more settlements left. Aemilianus is now called Victor for the amount of triumphs he's successfully conquered, and now we can go with a two-pronged attack at Thessalonica. The Macedonians have offered us a protector status, but they demand 3 settlements. I am open for factions bending the knee, but it would only be if there's only got 2 or 1 settlement. I'm not going to concede my conquests. Aemilius Brutus has found himself a Thracian hemp dealer. Whether for food, fibre, faith, or fun, it seems that everyone has a use for the Black Sea import. I'm sure being a faction leader has its perks. Now with Macedonian influence gone out of the Peloponnese, the city of Sparta remains. We have not forgotten about the Greek city-states. Aemilius can now deal with the last full stack, with his son Cornelius, the second-born, helping.
It is a fine day to be a Roman going into battle. Every day is a fine day for a battle when your heart is set on doing your duty. There stand the Greeks, ready to fight or die. Today, I think we should send as many of them as possible to Hades. And draw strength from this fact. The enemy are so loathed that no ally can be found to support them. That army comprises a full quarter of our foe's warriors. Is that the best that they can do? These old women, beardless youths, and craven dogs? I think we will grow weary of killing today.
Once this army defending Sparta has fallen, we'll be able to successfully, here today, conquer the entirety of the Peloponnese and southern Greece. This rogue army has been brave to fighters on the battlefield, rather than cowering behind the city walls in Sparta. The Hastati ready to advance, halt, get their peeler off, and then ultimately charge in to a hopeful victory. As the Greek pike advances forward to stop their advance. Trying to hold and pin them down in place, or we have flanking maneuvers. The pikes are doing incredibly well holding their own. Unfortunately, in the tide of this battle, our Hastati aren't doing the best. But they are starting to flank. Flanking maneuvers is how we're going to win this here today. In the thick forest, the Hastati are struggling, but they are slowly wrapping around the phalanx infantry. Flanking maneuvers eventually crush them, and it's a clear victory against the Greek captain. With the full stack destroyed, we can now march upon Sparta with ease. The Greek city-states will have small allies and settlement holdings throughout the Aegean, potentially Crete, Rhodes, Pergamon, maybe even Crimea as well, as Sparta comes under siege. Oppius Brutus can come in with the attack. So I hope you enjoyed Chapter 1. We're back with Part 2 of my Brutii cinematic campaign. Alright, we're going to be continuing on our first objective of forming the Eastern Roman Empire, and then eventually marching on Rome itself. So, Aemilius Brutus, the architect and planner of the conquest of Greece, his dream and ambition will be soon and hopefully finally achieved. We had the battle on the outskirts of Sparta. We have managed to starve out the inhabitants of Thessalonica, taking the Macedonian capital. We have territory stretching from North Macedonia to the south of Greece along Illyria, and we've defeated Macedon there. We've also got the settlement of Syracuse. After the Scipii failed to take the settlement, we were in charge of taking the city. Now, the Scipii have landed a invasion force in North Africa, but we might look to potentially send some units to North Africa itself to get some territory. We're still firmly at war with the Greek city-states that still have overseas colonies, potentially in Crete, that our intelligence says, along with Rhodes, the Crimea, and Asia Minor. Sparta has now fallen, only a minor garrison there, but now Greece is fully under Brutii control, which is a massive successful conquest for us. So now that we have the power of Greece and southern Italy backing us, we need to make plans and preparations, mobilize the military in the southern Peloponnese to start island hopping now throughout Greece, and then eventually push into Asia Minor itself. We might even take some North African territory. The Brits want an alliance and trade rights. I'm going to accept that, as they have an alliance, surprisingly, with the Julii. We've landed in Crete. Unfortunately, our intelligence was wrong. The Greeks do not own the island, only a small band of Cretan rebels, so we're going to be able to take the island with ease. Crete is a strategically important settlement. We can basically use it as a defensive area. Put ships right alongside it. It's also a vital trade hub. We can trade wine throughout the port as well. Still blocking the port of Carthage. We've been successful in another senatorial mission. We want to try and follow the Senate's will as best we can. Looking on the political front, our current standing with the Senate is superb, and same with the people. We dwarf the other Roman houses. Ullius Brutus is now praetor as well. Although we are doing really well with the Senate, we should have more political positions if we're being honest. Unfortunately, Ullius Brutus died of a plague in Macedonia, which is quite unfortunate. I do feel bad for Ullius. Wasn't the most competent general. Got disinherited twice. Dacia has been destroyed, potentially by a number of factions. Alright, so I think it's time to continue our expansion. We want to take what will become Constantinople and take the small fishing village of Byzantium. Vibius Brutus is now heir, and Aemilius, obviously the faction leader, both being Tiberius' son. Now, the Thracians have expanded quite a bit, so I only really want eastern
Do not take us
Roman,
for
like,
fools.
core territory. I'm not opposed to going over the Danube and going into conquest that technically Rome never conquered historically, but I would rather avoid it if we can. But if it makes strategic sense to do so, we'll attack. So war has now broken out with the Thracian tribes, and we're going to fight this one on the battlefield here today. Vibius Brutus. Let's go.
There stands the barbaric might of Thrace. Those warriors are terrible in their anger and cruel to all foes. In victory, they show no mercy. And draw strength from this fact. The enemy are so loathed that no ally can be found to support them. Are you men enough to win this battle? Are you equal to the challenge? If you are, then plunder and loot await. This is the last obstacle in our way before the city walls. Win here, and you can stroll to your prize. They have been brought to the battlefield by muling infants instead of leaders. Their position is hopeless. The count of their troops pitiful. But remember that the base cur still has a bite. They have an advantage if they take the high ground, but we are not men to be worried by such a little thing. These people have yet to taste victory at my expense. Today will be no different, so lay into them with a will. Now, set your minds on the task to come. Strike hard, strike without mercy!
First time fighting proper barbarians in this series. They do have a slight hybrid mix with hoplites. It's an interesting comparison. The Brutii have a lot higher quality territory in the fact of wonders resources and farming and trade going eastward. However, the difficulty of said factions is significantly higher compared to the western sphere that the Julii would be conquering into. They are fighting easier barbarians and rebels, but the territory isn't worth too much. So on a snowy Thracian plain, Vibius Brutus, third-born son of Tiberius, not the most renowned commander, has an opportunity to press the Thracian threat here today, after they refused to subjugate to Roman rule. We gave them an option. We are a military superpower. We should be respected. We asked for the territory, and now we're going in to liberate it. Depending on what they have, these could be the culprits of the conquest of Dacia, but I wouldn't put it past any Scythian or Germanic tribes. Our battle-hardened Hastati boys get stuck into the thick of it. We're engaging the smaller force as we wait for the reinforcements to arrive. We've managed to kill one of their captains. The main army has finally arrived, and we're about to have a clashing of Roman steel and shields against the Thracian threat. I wonder if it will stumble across a Thracian warrior by the name of Spartacus. We'll have to watch out for those phalanx swordsmen. They can really pack a punch. But we need to secure Thrace and this northern Bulgarian territory to stop any tribes in the north threatening Roman domains and lands south of the mountains. Vibius has won a clear victory here today against the Thracians, and will now be able to march into their capital with ease. If we take the capital early, we might be able to capitulate the faction. The Scipii, their alliance with the Thracians has dissolved. Same with the Julii as well. After successfully taking Crete, we can now island hop to the next major island. That is Rhodes. Cornelius Brutus, son of Aemilius, second born. Hopefully he can rise to become a great Roman general. His first real task is taking Rhodes from the Greeks. Faction leader Aemilius has been tasked to take Byzantium, with Vibius now pushing to besiege the Thracian capital of Tylos. Aemilius Victor now sieging out the Thracians. Cornelius' siege equipment in Rhodes has been constructed, and a clear victory has resulted, with the Colossus of Rhodes being taken, which will increase our naval trade by a whopping 40%, which is a significant enlargement. Oppius Brutus, with a full legion now, with 3 committing eastward, can move down to Syracuse, and then eventually meet up with Titus, his cousin, to go into North Africa. Carthage has fallen to the Scipii. Unfortunately, Oppius Brutus was caught in a disastrous storm and was flown overboard and subsequently never seen again. Aulus' line is quite cursed. Titus and Nero, I wonder what they will become. With Rhodes being taken, we've managed to encounter the Seleucids to the north. The Greek city-states still defiant. They potentially could have Pergamon. Aemilius, faction leader, 8-star commander, can now take Byzantium, which will eventually become Constantinople. And we'll be able to take the capital as well of Tylos. And we've managed to crush the Thracians, who still don't want defeat. So they've taken the Dacian territory to the north. The Gauls have been defeated, potentially by a Julii and Britain coalition against them. Down in the south, looks like Pontus and their Mithridatic warriors are pressing the Seleucids. Pergamon is under Greek control. Cornelius, now after taking Rhodes, has experience of fighting Greeks. Sieging out Pergamon, has the equipment to besiege the settlement and take our first piece of territory in Asia Minor. Very small garrison inside. A clear-cut victory for Cornelius, 26 years of age, is now becoming quite a competent and quite astute military commander in his own right. With the Thracians still threatening and not wanting peace,
Regretfully,
we might have to
must
cross the
decline.
Danube. Titus, after the death of Oppius, is now the sole commander in the invasion of North Africa. As in the south, in Lepsus, Titus has found Carthaginians to attack. We could use this as a base of operations. With Titus landing, we should be able to take Lepsus from the Carthaginians, and then it will allow us to go from a two-prong attack to eventually strike the Egyptians. It's a shame we weren't quick enough to take Carthage. Pontus, pushing into Sardis, is crushing what remains of Seleucus and his kingdom. With the fall of Halicarnassus, they could fall. Now, with them focusing on the Seleucids, we want to try and advance further into Asia Minor. We want the settlements of Nicomedia and Sardis. Now, surprisingly, Emilianus has managed to strike with a lightning attack and to kill the faction leader. Pontus still focusing massively on the Seleucid incursion, trying to crush them. Emilius is advanced from Nicomedia to find, surprisingly, the Greek city-states hiding out in the city of Ankara. We're still fighting with those pesky Greeks, even though we're focusing on the Pontic front. The Seleucid Empire has finally fallen. There only remains one successor kingdom, and that's Egypt. Our northern legions have been tasked to take the settlement of Dacia, going over the Danube to secure our northern border, as the Thracians refuse peace. Potentially, if we take it, we might be able to sue for peace with them. Dacia is now under siege. We have 2 full legions in the north, with 3 pushing into Asia Minor, with a full legion occupying Lepsus in North Africa. We're going to siege the former Dacian settlement now, and Vibius Brutus is tasked to rooting out the Thracian threat. And now we've secured the valuable mountain pass and mines there. More reinforcements are flooding against Pontus as the Mithridatic Wars begin. Titus is moving to go against Egypt. The Thracians are still moving units in and around their old lands.
Our patience is limited.
They are still incredibly adamant to refuse peace. I'm happy to give them the former Dacian capital in compensation for peace, as I have no ambition this far north. I'd rather focus on eastern territorial conquests, but they blatantly refuse, which is quite annoying.
Jest.
This is what we currently control, along with our Roman allies. The Scipii, although they started off with a slow start, have pushed the Carthaginians back, while the Julii are taking an interesting approach, focusing on the Germanic tribes rather than the Gauls, which Britain and potentially Spain have now taken. But the Brutii are in the strongest position now. All of Greece under our control, pushing into the north, and African territories as well. We're in a really strong position to start snowballing, build up our strength and military might to then eventually march on Rome and bring all of the Italian peninsula under our control. The Parthians want an alliance and trade rights. I'm interested in accepting that, which I will do, as I don't want to go that far east. Focusing now on Pontus. We should be able to have some battles against them, as Halicarnassus has fallen. The Greek city-states want to march out and attack to stop the blockade of Ankara, and we'll fight this one on the battlefield. As they're aggressively attacking us at night, surprisingly, there is no chance for a military speech. Once Ankara falls to the Romans, you'd imagine that there wouldn't be many more potential Greek settlements left. The Roman ballista is now attached to the legion, and as they funnel out one by one, our Cretan archers with flammable rounds and ballista rounds should be able to make quick work of the columns of infantry slowly funneling and making their way out of the settlement of Ankara. Securing Central Asia Minor is imperative if we want to push further eastward. We are still holding cool, calm, and collectedly as the Greeks try to charge out, but also in the same breath retreat. Some have made it all the way to engage the Hastati. More are now committing forward, but are getting engulfed by Pila and arrow fire ultimately. The Greeks are now making better progress, punching and pinching through our Hastati front line as our skirmisher ammunition dwindle. Now, with most of the garrison crushed from that offensive push, we can give chase and run the remaining stragglers back into the settlement. Aemilius Victor man with countless triumphs marches into the city streets of Ankara now. Only a last couple of remaining defenders here before the city ultimately falls to Roman occupation, subjugation, and conversion of Roman values and ideals. But the Greeks are fighting to the absolute bitter end. Defiant in defeat. We've been chasing them countlessly across the known world. Let's end the battle there. Clear victory.
Conquered.
Hey, and thankfully the Greek city-states during the end turn phase have been destroyed. Still very popular with the Senate, but we need more positions. The Julii don't deserve it. Okay, well I think it's time to open up another military front, this time against the Egyptians. With Macedon fallen, with the Seleucids, the Egyptians are the last successor kingdom of Alexander's legacy. War is now broken out. We are still fighting a fierce war against Pontus. But thankfully, we seem to be winning the war with killing their king. We've managed to secure another wonder for us, the Temple of Artemis. And the wonders are really starting to add up now. Currently we have 3 theatres of warfare. North Africa has been opened up in Egypt, the Asia Minor front, and the Thracian front to the north. Sardis has now fallen to Roman occupation, and we're currently trying to stabilize, restructure, and administrate the region. We're continuing our front against the Thracians. Vibius is going to crush them once and for all. They've been destroyed. And now we can focus on the Egyptians in Cyrene and take the settlement of Cyrenaica, with additional reinforcements coming in. Titus wanting to siege this one out against the Egyptian governor, which has a wide variety of Egyptian infantry.
Pick up the shield, grasp the spear, sharpen the sword's edge. This is a day of destiny, and fate of many will be decided in this place. The Pharaoh has sent his servants against us. Do not fear them, for they will be cut down by us, just like other men. And draw strength from this fact. The enemy are so loathed that no ally can be found to support them. They think their walls are enough to stop us. They should think again. There is no advantage in numbers to either side. Therefore, skill and courage will be the keys to this day's battle. Yet, for all that, we are the stronger within ourselves. We are the greater warriors. Those people have never met us on a field of battle. After today, they will flee at the sound of our approach. The omens have been better, but I dismiss those priestly naysayers. They are holy men, not warriors, and a warrior makes his own fate. Be of good cheer. Our comrades are marching to our aid even as I speak. The gods are great, it is true, and they will grant us victory. I have it on the best authority. That is to say, my authority. We cannot lose. On to victory!
Titus Brutus here today has a massive opportunity to deal the Pharaoh and Greater Egypt their first blow, and personally himself can gain influence in his first real and serious campaign against a major power. Titus is slowly but surely moving the battering rams up, army-wise, mostly made of Hastati, very limited skirmisher and cavalry capacity due to the future sieges of really large and huge cities that Egypt controls. If we can take Cyrenaica here today, we should be able to push on competently to the larger Egyptian cities of Cairo, Alexandria.
Show no mercy.
The walls have now fallen,
Make sure their soldiers are
and now we can flood in to fight the Pharaoh's men. Titus has had limited military experience, taking Lepsus in North Africa
Show no mercy.
from a small band
The enemy
of
walls are down.
Carthaginian
Make sure their soldiers are buried beneath
soldiers.
the ruins.
But this North Africa campaign was meant to be tasked with his cousin Oppius, who unfortunately died, and it's up to Titus himself. The Egyptian chariots have now moved up, something we really must watch out for, but luckily we've managed to get a huge amount of RNG as the Egyptian governor has flown himself, he's flung himself into Hastati swordsmen. with the governor being killed early in the fighting, a mass rout is now taking place. And the Hastati are gaining tremendous ground. The Romans have nearly made their way into the city streets of Cyrenaica as they advance. Slowly but surely, inch by inch, we've made a claim to the town square itself, as the Egyptians want to fight to the bitter end. We are taking significant losses due to their clustering of chariots, hoplites, and cavalry. But victory is certain, but at a high cost. As the Roman banner raises, the Egyptian one falls.
This is a heroic
Clear victory. However, we did lose a significant amount of men. But thanks to Titus Brutus, our first piece of Egyptian occupied territory is now under Roman control. Two legions have now been tasked to sweep eastward against the Egyptians, along with the Roman navy. Cornelius has been tasked to get rid of the last of the Pontic units in Halicarnassus, with the Mithridatic War now firmly raging. More units are slowly but surely flooding over to Asia Minor, with the Senate requesting the blockade of Sinop to stop and cut off their trade. Cassius Brutus has been sent north. Vibius, while already significantly marching north against the Thracians, can now start going after the Scythians. Slowly but surely, building watchtowers and mapping out the territory of North Africa as we move into Egypt. Cornelius Brutus finishing off the Pontic army here. And now we've taken the wonder in Halicarnassus. We're blocking the port of Sinop now at the direct request of the Senate. Although we have a really high rating with the Senate, we have been slighted major roles of Edel, Censor. There has not been a single Brutii consul, which we must remember and mustn't forget. War with Scythia is now broken out. And now we have opportunity to push further north into Barbarian territory, with the Julii flanking the west. And going to be bordering us here in Dacia. Unfortunately, there's been a disaster, an earthquake here in Lepsus. Has completely disrupted the inhabitants of North Africa, killing dozens of civilians and soldiers. We can march on Rome if we want. We do have the political power, but it's not in our best interest to do so. Vibius Victor now, after conquering Thrace, has now won a triumph. Now is an opportunity to take the former Greek settlement of Cameria. The Bosphorus is now under our control. Pushing further eastward, we can start to take some external Egyptian territory on the outskirts of their core territory in Cairo, Alexandria, and Jerusalem, as Titus marches eastward. We can now continue our advance against Pontus, who have taken an abundance of former Seleucid territory, holding Taurus, Cappadocia, and Sinop itself. Emilius is now sieging. We've also got a legion that hasn't got a captain, and Vibius is focusing on Scythians. The siege here is still raging on, but thankfully the garrison is not too large, as another Egyptian settlement has now fallen to Roman conquest. Let's continue on with the rapid advance and conquest, and focus on securing the larger and main populous hubs of Cairo and Alexandria. The Roman fleet has arrived and is now currently blockading the port here. Emilius has an opportunity to crush Dionysus of Pontus, and he will, securing Cappadocia and regional control in Asia Minor. A second leader and legion without a leader. We'll eventually need to get a commander there. Armenia has been destroyed, more than likely due to Parthians. We're in range now, after building a watchtower, to strike Cairo. And we've managed to gain the title of Edel. Nero Brutus and Quintus's son is now of age. It will take some time to get Nero to the front line. Although we're strong with the people now, following the Senate's commands, we have lost influence. Now that we have an abundance of heirs, it's probably time to name a new heir eventually. But this is the line of succession. We have an abundance of strong future Brutus / Brutii military commanders. Luca Brutus has now come of age and now has been tasked with controlling the legion that striked Sinop. We have a suitable betrothal with Aurelian to marry Julia. Will accept. And he's married the eldest born child of Vibius. Alexandria will soon be under siege, as the Romans are committing full military forces into Alexandria itself. Titus has the command and will have a strong claim to govern the province if he's successful in conquering Egypt and securing the grain supply. Titus Brutus and his military operation of seizing Egyptian territory is fully underway. An army has been sent south with thousands of Romans besieging Thebes, as hundreds will be taken and conquered. A clear victory ensued. The Egyptian populace was enslaved at Thebes and sent back to Rome. Titus now besieged Alexandria, destroying a small garrison, as the port of Alexandria and the lighthouse has been secure. Cornelius Brutus now marches on Taurus. Emilius, Luca move south. Vibius now goes after Scythian territory and further north. A full stack of Egyptians remains outside Alexandria, which came to try and reoccupy the settlement, but they were not quick enough. Titus Brutus here has a massive chance to crush an Egyptian force.
Take up the shield! Grasp the spear, sharpen the sword's edge. This is a day of destiny, and fate of many will be decided in this place. Those men are the servants of Pharaoh. They think themselves our equals, but I think they are dead meat. They stand alone. No friend has come to this place to die for them. Does this not say something about their honor? They're standing among nations. They have been whipped to the battlefield like cattle for slaughter. On this field, we have the benefit of greater numbers. It is one we would do well not to squander. They have an advantage if they take the high ground, but we are not men to be worried by such a little thing. They will try to keep us at bay and take the coward's way of bombarding us with missiles. We must grasp them by the sword belt in this battle. The seer can offer no guidance for this day. So we must grasp our own fates and make what we will of them with an iron purpose. I have won many great victories for Rome. Be strong in that truth, and let this be one more. March on, and know that our victory is assured as long as we live and die like true Romans.
Titus engages the Egyptian army on a cold winter's morning in Egypt. Wind, snow and sleet litter the air as the Egyptians couldn't get their reactionary force to Alexandria. Titus is in a disadvantage in this battle, bringing a severe lack of cavalry and any form of chariots. They'll make quick work of the Roman infantry. The Egyptians also have brought artillery in the form of 2 onagers. So Titus has a real hard job here today. The Romans are winning in some areas, but taking massive losses with their Principe in others. Thankfully, this army has been reformed and modernized with Principe units, with more than half of the current Roman army being controlled with Hastati infantry. A flanking maneuver has come around the Egyptian left flank, and a unit of Principes has been tasked to target, isolate, and focus on the onagers, firing impunity on the main line. The Principe are struggling against the Egyptian pikes. As the Principe can throw a peeler volley at the onagers and then eventually charge in. After a venomous volley, the onagers were neutralized. But pockets of Egyptians remain defiant. Hammer and anvil tactics are now ensuing against heavily armored Egyptian archers. But unfortunately, in the ensuing chaos of the front line, Titus Brutus was killed, although claiming ultimate victory in an average affair. Rest in peace, Titus Brutus. However, a man of the hour has arisen, who led the Romans to victory. Sextus is now the new commander in Egypt. Titus Brutus and the cursed line of Aulus remains. Titus was an incredibly influential part of the conquest of North Africa and Egypt His legacy will remain through Vibius Sextus, which realistically should be his adopted son. Although Titus has fallen, Vibius must take command in finishing off his adopted father's legacy. Memphis is now under siege, and the Pharaoh and his forces are on the back foot, with the Romans potentially claiming the pyramids. In the north, Cornelius is still besieging, and more legions are flooding. Memphis still under siege, with multiple legions now convalescing on the settlement. The settlement will fall, and the Great Pyramid and Sphinx of Giza is now under Roman control. Tyrus is still under siege, and the Pontic forces inside have been destroyed, along with the faction itself. Up in the north, thankfully we haven't faced any Scythians on the open field, and we've been claiming their settlements. Now with Memphis, Alexandria, and Thebes, and Cairo directly under Roman control, we can march into the Levant, and Antioch, and former Seleucid territory. Cornelius is now named victor in his own right, along with his father and uncle. Nero Brutus, taking the long trip from southern Italy, has now arrived in Byzantium and has units now directly under his control. He's mustering his military forces. In the north, in Scythia, we have another opportunity to take a settlement, penning them in, and thankfully Scythia has been destroyed. In the south, we have an army just on the outskirts of Petra to potentially claim. We'll be able to have trade, spice and salt to the Arabian Sea and Peninsula. Sidon is under siege, as more military forces that were in Central Asia Minor and Ankara are going to move down into the Levant now. Unfortunately, a worthy life ends with Julianus still sieging out Petra, as more Brutii forces head towards the Levant. Alexandria, Memphis, and Thebes have now been turned into military installments. Infantry and recruits will be recruited, supplied, and given equipment to eventually push into the last remaining territory into the east that Egypt controls. For now, we have peace with Parthia. Sidon is now fallen. That leaves Damascus, Cyprus and Salamis, and Jerusalem itself. Aemilius Brutus and Luca now march on Hatra. That has now fallen, and the Assyrian regime, while more forces move north into the Caucasus, and in the north, after the fall of Scythia, potentially the armies that are already in the north might be able to find Germanic or Barbarian settlements. So I hope you enjoyed Chapter 2 of the Brutii campaign. If you enjoyed this type of content, like and subscribe. YouTube memberships and super thanks are available. Stay tuned for Chapter 3, the finale, coming out soon, where Brutus will have to march on Rome. Et tu, Brutii? Hey everyone, how you all doing? Welcome to Chapter 3, the finale of my Rome Total War Remastered Brutii cinematic campaign. Here today, we're going to continue our conquest in the east and march on Rome. We've got some new family members. The Brutii family tree is larger in some areas than not. Unfortunately, Aulus' branches has suffered a bit, mostly due to tragedy. Aemilius' line is strong, staying with Vibius. So let's have a look at our current situation. We control a large portion of what will eventually become the Eastern Roman Empire, and even more territory in the north. Unfortunately, Aemilius has died, being the main conqueror of this series. The faction leadership has gone to his younger brother Vibius, as we're going through renowned influence and command, rather than male preference primogenitor. Back down in Egypt, we've conquered Alexandria, Memphis and Thebes. We now march on the Levant to try and claim Jerusalem for the Republic. Damascus and many more Egyptian territory is under siege, as most Asia Minor is under our control. We have some legions marching into Armenia, and war has broken out between the Brutii and the last remaining Germanic tribes, as the Julii have crushed their central core territory, and we have put the final nail in the Germanic coffin, finishing off what the Julii started. We've got a time of turmoil here. We've had 2 faction leaders within a couple years. Now Cornelius, son of the legendary Aemilius, has risen to the house and faction leader, with his nephews and siblings commanding most of the legions. Still wanting to continue his father's war, and his cousin Titus Brutus' advance into Egypt, one of the main contributing factors to the fall of Alexandria and the establishment of the province of Roman Egypt. Once Egypt is defeated, we can march westward and cross the proverbial Rubicon. The Brutii are now trying to run down the last of the Pharaoh's resistance. Some of the Egyptians have fled to Cyprus, while others control the Armenian mountain pass. Palmyra has now fallen to the Romans, but they do have some armies in the north. We have another potential husband here, which we will accept, as the Brutii daughters are coming of age. Still continuing our conquest against Egypt, but they are incredibly on the back foot now, and it's going to be very hard to stop the Roman flood and tide coming into the east. Nero Brutus can now conquer Armenia, bringing our first piece of Caucasus territory under Roman control. A navy has been acquired to start the invasion of Cyprus, with faction leader now Cornelius Victor and Luca Brutus aiding. The siege equipment has now been built at Cyprus, and the island will fall, gaining another crucial island territory in the seas. Egypt has now fallen. Looking at the map, this is what we currently control, and the Scipii and the Julii. As now, we're going to make plans and preparations to sail and march the legions westward. Here is a closer overview of what we control. We now control most of what will eventually become the Eastern Roman Empire, and maybe even some Western territory as well. With a non-aggression pact with Parthia, we are competent enough to start moving and rallying the legions westward. We're going to land most of the armies in the boot of Italy, some in Syracuse as well, as we're not only going to march on Rome and the Senate itself, but we will have to deal with the other Roman families, the Scipii and the Julii. We could even launch an invasion from Illyria potentially. It will take some time, but a recruitment blitz has been ordered throughout Greece as well. The Senate has gotten word. They have given us some minor titles, but it's not enough. As it's been decades, it's been 3 generations, and not a single Brutii has been named consul. That is our grievance with the Senate. They are corrupt. They are toadies of the Julii and Scipii. The units from southern Italy, Illyria, and Greece and Macedon are now ready. And we're rallying up at Tarentum to then eventually build forts and fortifications in the peninsula. 6 legions are now ready. And we're going to be able to set up forward operating fortifications to pincer, surround and blockade central Italy and Rome itself. Fortifications outside the Scipii capital of Capua are being constructed, with more units coming every day. We're currently under the reign of Cornelius Victor, who's 47. The people love us, the Senate not so much. He's been named praetor, but still no Brutii has been named consul. Son of Emilius, he's going to fulfill his father's dream of marching on the Senate. We're going to launch from Sicily and central Italy as well. The Julii have most of their military forces away in Germany, as in this timeline they were not successful in conquering Gaul. The Scipii only just arriving in southern Hispania. War has been declared, with Vibius getting a direct order to march into Messana, taking Syracuse early on in this campaign is working wonders, as we've been tasked to press and push and look to take the entirety of Sicily under our control. Capua is under besiege by Decimus, although a lot of these generals don't have the last name of Brutii or Brutus. Their children will have Brutii blood. Arretium and Irinium are now under siege, and Cornelius's operation of Order 66 has now been complete. We even have an army up towards Germania. Cornelius himself will deal with the Senate and their armies, as the fight for Rome itself is about to begin. We must weed out all corruption, no matter the cost. Cornelius Victor will now march against the Senate and bring them to heel, purging their corruption.
Those men over there call themselves the army of the Senate and people of Rome. They are our enemies, and soon to be dead. They stand alone. No friend has come to this place to die for them. Does this not say something about their honor? They're standing among nations? Are you men enough to win this battle? Are you equal to the challenge? If you are, then plunder and loot await. This is the last obstacle in our way before the city walls. Win here, and you can stroll to your prize. They have been brought to the battlefield by muling infants instead of leaders. Why do they stand? They muster barely a fraction of our men. We should brush them aside easily and claim victory. Those fools have never fought against me before. I hope to give them a nasty surprise. Be of good cheer. Our comrades are marching to our aid even as I speak. And at the last, brave Romans, I say this: strength and honor to you all!
The Senate's commanders are old, tired bureaucrats, and they've been lulled into a false sense of security and drawn out. However, the infantry and the unit quality to a man of their units is superb. Some of the best soldiers are enlisted and paid by the Senate. They will be a hard task. Once this army is crushed, we should be able to march and siege out Rome. Wanting to avoid a long, protracted starvation siege, the men at the Senate have been drawn out and will face Cornelius, the head of the Brutii faction, and deal with the Senate once and for all. Brother versus brother, man versus man, Roman versus Roman, fight on the fields of Roma itself. Brutii and Senate forces clash, cavalry, generals dying, left, right and center. Battle-hardened units from walks of the Eastern Roman Republic all have military experience fighting Macedonians, Greeks, Egyptians, and Pontus, but have yet to fight fellow Romans to a man. The Senate are holding, but are wavering in some areas. The battle is fractured, turning into small pockets of fighting. The battlefield is incredibly unorthodox. Both sides routing and capitulating back and forth. But the Brutii seem to have the ascension in the victory, with some of the Senate units crushing Brutii combatants.
The enemy general disgraces all Romans. He runs like
More
an effeminate
Senate
Greek.
generals are falling, thus competence in the defense. Even if the Senate are successful here today, the fortifications will block off and delay any Roman reinforcements. But it looks like the tide is shifting slightly, with the loss of generals and commanders weighing too much on the Senate's infantry. Only a handful of units remain for the Senate on the battlefield, and Cornelius is going to be able to claim his first major victory against the Senate. Purging corruption, filth and waste from the Eternal City. Cornelius, 47 years of age, likes to lead from the front, get into the thick of it, fighting Senate retinue. The battle has ended in a clear victory for the Brutii, and the die has been cast. Rome is now under siege, with some units making their way back into the settlement. News has now arrived at the Julii and Scipii commanders and faction leaders. We've been named officially an outlaw by the Senate, and the Julii and the Scipii legions in the far-flung regions of Hispania and Germany march. The Scipii do have a large contingent in Lilybaeum. Quintus, who is half Brutii, has a chance to crush them and bring Sicily under Brutii control.
Brave warriors! I have won great renown through leading men to victory. I see no reason to change the habits of a lifetime today. Today we face those proud Romans, the Scipii. They are worthy enemies, but enemies nonetheless. And draw strength from this fact. The enemy are so loathed that no ally can be found to support them. This battle is for more than just another victory celebration. If we win here, the city is ours. Its defenders are here, not on the walls. So think of the plunder that will be ours. Riches beyond your wildest dreams. Carve a way through, and all this will be yours. They have been whipped to the battlefield like cattle for slaughter. The count of our warriors is vastly greater than theirs. So unless we fight like old women or idiots, victory is certain. They may try to hide in the woods and spring an ambush, but we will not fall for such an obvious trap. I have never lost a battle against these people. Why should I start losing now, with men such as you at my command? Another victory is at hand. Be of good heart, for within the day, reinforcements will reach us. I have won many great victories for Rome. Be strong in that truth, and let this be one more. March on, and know that our victory is assured as long as we live and die like true Romans.
Quintus, who is half Brutii, he has Brutus' blood, has an opportunity to crush the trash Scipii, which his grandfather named, and then bring Sicily under our control. He must be wary, as he's surrounded by two sides, has to close the distance. Against the first army, then allow the reinforcements to come in. Word would have reached the Scipii that Rome is now surrounded, and a majority of the Senate's forces and consuls have been destroyed. Could this war have been avoided if the Senate wasn't inherently corrupt and gave the Brutii proper titles? Potentially. Could this war have been stopped if a Brutus was named consul? Yes. But we fulfilled every single Senate mission that was given to us. Yet still, the corrupt Senate snubbed us. As the Brutii infantry and Arabian mercenaries fight on the field here. Fierce fighting and trading is going back and forth.
Rabbits running from our men.
Quintus was able to crush the first army, and is now largely focusing on the second. The more we can crush on the battlefield here today, regardless of the result, should be able to ease up an offensive siege into Lilybaeum.
Gods be praised.
The Scipii general has fallen. Although Aulus, his legacy is tainted, him taking Syracuse has incredibly helped us out in this campaign. If we didn't have a base of operations in Sicily, it would have been harder to take the island. Particularly trying to engage in an amphibious assault. With the last of the Scipii here in this battle getting pushed to the sea and fleeing. High casualties from either side. Friendly fire galore being the major casualty. Both Romans speaking the same language. Still hard to identify enemy combatants and belligerents. But by a narrow result, Quintus will win this against Publius Scipio. And now be able to march upon Lilybaeum easier than he otherwise would have. Quintus, although he doesn't have the last name of Brutii, he's well deserved it if he chooses to take it. Back up in central Italy, the time has come to take and attack the walls of the Eternal City. The senatorial positions have been officially repealed, and more family members come of age. More military forces come north. We also have another Nero Brutus as well. Although the garrison and last remaining defenders in Rome is minuscule, how could we not take the Eternal City?
I carry on my body many great scars, honorably earned in battle. I have fought many a foe in open combat. I come to fight today. Who stands with me? The Roman Senate has sent its army against us. Do not fear them, for they will die as quickly as other men. They stand alone. No friend has come to this place to die for them. Does this not say something about their honor? They're standing among nations? This will be a hard fight. 3/4 of the enemy's total strength faces us on this battlefield. If we should lose, then the more of them we can kill, the better. Those who come after us will have fewer enemies to face. But when we win, then we will have done terrible, fatal damage to our foes' hopes. We are here to do one job: prevent them from taking the town at all costs. Their position is hopeless, the count of their troops pitiful. But remember that the base curve still has a bite. We are lacking in spearmen today, and the many enemy horsemen may make life a little hectic if we are not careful. I have never yet lost a fight against these men. I have no intention of starting today. So together, we will gain another victory. This morning we took the auspices, and the liver has seldom been so clear. This is most wonderful. A triumphant outcome to our battle is guaranteed. Take heart, for another army is close by and even now marches to our aid. Brave Romans, prepare to defend yourselves!
Scarred and battle-tired, Cornelius Brutus will march on Rome itself. Once the walls are taken, We can move past the Colosseum and then to the Senate building itself. Brutus will have a choice to make. Reorganize, restructure the Senate and the Republic, which he's more inclined to do. Name himself king is out of the question. A dictator or emperor puts a sour taste in his mouth. But it might be a necessity before consoles are adequately found. Unfortunately, Cornelius's battering ram attempts have been squandered, with them being taken out by Senate archers on the walls. 3 siege towers have made their way to the walls and have yet to be engulfed in flames. Reinforcing siege towers are available, but thankfully, to the gods and the auspice, the siege towers have made their way onto the walls. And fighting will now ensue. Brutii infantry are now engaging senatorial forces, and it will be only a matter of time before Rome is cleaned and purged from systemic corruption and manipulation by Senate bureaucrats. As the Brutii and their soldiers know they're fighting for the freedom and liberty of the Roman Republic. The Senate infantry is surrounded on the walls and will fall soon. The gateway has been captured, and the remaining Brutii forces on the outskirts can now charge in, along with a thundering force of hooves with hundreds of cavalry charging into the city streets of Rome. The hills will now be under Brutii occupation. The Brutii are carving and claiming and dominating the city streets. Some of the Senate forces still defend the corrupt senators, which is respectable in some capacity. They are fighting for the bitter end of their version of a corrupt, decrepit republic. At least they're fighting for their ideals. The Brutii have made it into the steps of the Senate building and will be able to march in and reform the Senate with Brutii influence and authority. The Brutii have clearly won the Battle of Rome, and thus the Republic has been saved in a clear victory. Although Rome has been conquered and captured, many of the core Italian, core Latin, and Roman territory on the Italian peninsula is controlled by enemy forces, which we must take. But Rome is now safe under Brutii rule. All that was promised has come true under your strong leadership. A Brutii fist now wields the sword, the Brutii hand wields the rod that brings law to the world. This is why the Brutii have struggled for years, and now victory is here. The Senate have been destroyed, yet the Scipii and Julii are defiant. With the Battle of Lilybaeum ended, the siege and occupation has now taken place. Those units will eventually attempt to strike Carthage. Capua will now fall, with Rome to the north falling. Arretium and Arinium will fall under our control. Quintus Brutus has managed to crush and kill a Julii, and more central Italy territory is now falling. Liguria and Cisalpine Gaul still remain under Julii control. We march on Batavium. We also march into Julii Hungary. While our units and legions in the north remain fortified, they can march and press into Julii Germanic territory. Sicily is now fully under Brutii control. However, what remains of the Scipii have now fled to North Africa and subsequently Hispania as well. Unfortunately, the Julii, curse their name, have set a plague in Lilybaeum to stop our advance. Cornelius Scipio now hides in Carthage, but a settlement we should have taken decades ago is now under siege. Capua and Rome are secure, which will allow the legions to march north. We have not faced the Julii on the field of battle, but I imagine they will not allow Cisalpine Gaul to fall with ease. Liguria is now under siege by Quintus Brutus, and more legions march into Cisalpine Gaul by the day. Once the entirety of the Italian peninsula is firmly under Brutii control, I'm willing to sue for peace. I have no ambition or desire of the Julii Germanic lands north of the Alps. Once Carthage is controlled, the Scipii and what remains of the Roman outlaws can have southern Hispania and west North Africa. More units are arriving at Carthage. Quintus has an opportunity to take Carthage. He does, killing Cornelius Scipio Africanus in the process. And will now march further south against the former Carthaginian territory. Some remaining Scipio forces south of Arretium have now been crushed. Liguria will now be under Brutii control. Yet the Julii have sent a legion south to stop the advance. Our first battle against the Julii begins.
We are facing the murderous and cunning Julii, fiends in human form. They are a dangerous foe, and unkind when victorious. They stand alone. No friend has come
Cornelius
to this
must be
place to
slightly
die for
cautious.
them. Does this not say something about their honor?
Wouldn't want to get hubris, get the better of him. But he's in a good position, winning glorious and clear-cut victories against the Roman Senate itself and the Scipii. Yet the Julii are a force to reckon with, the second strongest house.
Yet, for all that, we are the
Julii infantry and Brutii infantry fight now. as we try to bring
I have
Gaius
never yet
Julius
lost a fight
Caesar
against these men.
and
I
his
have
hellhounds
no
to
intention of
heal.
starting today. So together we will gain another
If
victory.
this full legion under the
The
control
seer can offer no
of Gaius
guidance
is
for
crushed,
this day. So we must grasp our own fates and make
Cess
what we will of them
Alpine
with an
Gaul
iron purpose.
will fall as we
Take
march
heart,
north
for another army is
ironically,
close by, and even now
over the
marches to our
Rubicon.
aid.
to stop Julii
I want to see
influence
blood.
and control
I want to bathe in their blood.
and maintenance
I
of
want to bathe in
Cess
their
Alpine
blood
Gaul.
for a week. Now, kill them all.
With the captain and command structure now dead, the Brutii look best to advance in this battle. But both are trading heavy losses as the Julii center capitulates. Running down the last remaining Julii stragglers, the Brutii crush the Julii legion.
The gods be praised! The enemy general
And
is
now,
dead! His men
Patavium
know their
and
doom
Mediolanium
approaches.
will be easier to control. Oppius has now taken Patavium, and Mediolanium is the last settlement not under direct Brutii control. Flavius will be able to take some Germanic territory, while Thapsus, the former Carthaginian stronghold, is now under Brutii with control, with another Scipii getting slaughtered. Mediolanium, the last settlement in the north, with Vibius being defeated. Cess Alpine Gaul and the entirety of the Italian peninsula is under Brutii control.
The gods!
Now that that's happened, we're going to be able to construct fortifications to stop any outlaw Roman rebels marching south.
General, sir,
I'm more than willing to sue for peace now
engage the enemy. Move out.
and allow
Sir,
the outlaw Roman factions
victory and
to rule their fiefdoms
sir,
north of the Alps in Germania and in Hispania
forward.
under their own right,
Imperator. General,
as long as they don't threaten the integrity
besieging
of Rome and the greater Italian peninsula itself. The siege offensive of Thapsus continues. Once it falls and it is under our control,
victory
the Brutii will now have control of the majority of the surrounding territory around Carthage. Trade, commerce, and maritime investment will be able to flow via Carthage now. Mediolanium has now fallen,
orders. Move out.
with Cess Alpine Gaul finally under our control.
Under siege, sir.
The Julii territory in Hungary is under siege. We'll throw back the remaining
For battle.
Roman outlaws now,
And glory.
who still are on our side of the Alps. Fortifications and defensive installments will now be built, with the plan of going no step further
Move out. Orders.
over the Alps itself, with fortifications being built and stabilizing the northern regions.
Be quick.
Peace terms have
Our
now been
patience
offered to
surely
the
you
Julii, which they
jest.
have directly refused. I don't blame them, but now we're in a defensive war. No offensive conquests will continue, and we're going to be able to solidify our approach. Here are Cornelius's traits, retinues and followers. And here is a snapshot of the world and what our intelligence tells us. That Parthia dominates the east. The Britannic tribes have marched into Gaul, with a war breaking out between them and the Julii. Carthaginian loyalists remain in northwest Africa, while the Spanish have fled towards Galatia. And the Julii center their control in Germania. Parthia pushes into former Scythian territory. So I hope you've enjoyed the Rome Remastered Brutii series. Hope you've enjoyed the Brutii bringing peace, freedom, justice, and security to the Roman Republic.